It's my pleasure to introduce you to mobile rolling with our new set that we have. We are flying into 2026, and after the break it'll be my pleasure to introduce someone who has been a top driver, a top farrier, and has been in the game since he was probably about 19 years of age. Back here at Mobile Rolling, it is my pleasure to introduce and chat with someone that a lot of people would probably recognise his face, and David Quirk. Welcome to Mobile Rolling, David. How are you?
Thanks very much, Gary. Good, mate.
Good. Well, everybody, we always start the same way. Where were you born, all that sort of stuff. So we'll start from the start. You've lived in South Australia now for what, 40 years?
Yeah, about that.
About 40 years?
Born and bred in Melbourne, in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. Normal suburban upbringing.
So many of the family, were they involved in the horses industry?
No, not my brothers. I've got two brothers and two sisters. Mm-hmm. I'm the oldest. Just a normal, I played football and sport and, normal schooling. And no involvement in the horses. Just I used to like going to the races when I, got in.
Did you excel at any sports?
No, I used to think I could kick the footy a bit, but as a young bloke. But I gave that away when I started with the horses. But
so when you went to school, you went to high school. You didn't go to anything other than that. Just
no. Went to technical school and learned a bit about sheet metal and
woodwork and all the same stuff.
Because I was never going to be an academic, So did a bit of that. Left school probably early, about 15. Started working as loading trucks and demolishing houses and just
just general labour.
Just general labouring sort of jobs in the late 70s, early 80s. Mm-hmm. And fruit picking at Shepparton. I went up there for a couple of months and just general,
floating around
jobs. And
So that was in Melbourne and Shepparton and wherever else. So how did you end up in South Australia? Because most people here would only know you from
South Australia. Well, I always had in the back of my mind that I knew my uncle Chris Laird. It's my mum's brother. He was a horse trainer in Adelaide, and I always had this thing. I'm going to go over there one day and just check it out and see what he's doing, because I like.
So how old were you then?
I was about 19.
About 19, and at that stage, Chris would have been, how old would Chris
would have been? About 30.
30. Okay. Yeah. So he was single at the time, or?
Oh yeah, he'd been married and single.
So where was he living? Because he was at Laird Lodge then?
Yes, he was.
So he'd been there for a long time?
He was in Plympton. He'd been there since, I don't know, a few years before.
So you came over and
I jumped on a bus.
Come over on a holiday.
I came over to just check it out, have a look and see what was going on, just to see my uncle and just have a look at the horses, because I was curious, So
at that stage was Chris training?
Yeah.
Was Chris driving? Did Chris drive?
Chris drove, yeah.
And then he would have been managing.
Not full time. No, he had a few drivers.
So he would have. Who was his drivers then?
Trevor Kelly was his number one driver, and Ray Goble, and was his second string, because he might have had 4 or 5 or 6 horses.
Yeah,
maybe.
Exactly. So at that stage, was he working for Bonnet Salary?
Yes, he was.
He was. So that's where he was. So you came over and just thought you might have a look.
I came over on a Sunday. I remember it clearly. I came over on a Sunday morning, and I walked from Franklin Street bus depot all the way to Plympton. I didn't have any money, catch a taxi or anything, and it was the early morning. I got to Chris's stables about 9 o'clock. I said, "How you going?" He said, "Come on, we're going down the road to the Weagle Oval Trials,"
which is
500 metres.
Yeah, 500 metres. Yeah,
down the road. So I said, righto. So we all go down. I walked down here, and it was all new to me. I was just wide-eyed and taking it all in. Anyway, we get down to Weagle Oval Trials, and there must have been 100 people there, and they had a race caller. They were selling pies and pasties. There was
like a big show.
6 or 7 trials with 6 or 8 horses in each trial, and it was just all happening. And this was in this little suburban footy oval with a track around the outside, and I just sit, and they come. I watched these trials, and they were crazy. They were thundering around, and and I just said, I'm going to have a crack at this. I love this. Straight away, I just knew it got me, and you know, and I sort of fell in love with. I always liked racing, but I just saw this and I thought, you know, this looks really
thrilling.
cool.
So
I'm gonna have a crack at it. You know?
So you lived there with Chris, did you?
Well, then I said, you know, I stayed for a week and you know, a couple of weeks.
Instead of nowhere to
a
live.
couple of weeks, and then I started jogging horses, and you know, he's teaching me how to jog horses. I didn't have any experience whatsoever. Started jogging them, you know. I just loved it. I just loved going.
So how many would have had him work? Because he'd only have room for 6 horses, wouldn't he?
No, he had room for about at one stage. He had room for about 18.
Did he really?
Yeah. He had a big barn there. Held about 10 horses, but he only had 6 horses. A couple other guys stabled there, and anyway, the Weagle had so many horses, mate. There was you know, there was 30 or 40 trainers at least there, and they'd all come every morning to the track, and you know, it was just to me it was a really exciting time. I really enjoyed it.
So you started jogging and stuff like that.
Started jogging.
So how when you started doing fast work, did
6 months later,
Chris taught you?
Yeah.
Anybody else there that give you a hand along the way? Or?
Oh, there were some old time trainers from, you know, you jog with every morning, you get talking, and you got to know everyone there, and I just watch, you know, I was watching everyone and just taking it all in, and you know, sort of in those days you did a bit of apprenticeship. You didn't straight into fast work. So 6 months started fast work, and maybe 12 months later I went to the trials and started. So
did you go to the trials at Days Road or Globe Derby? Or?
I actually went to the Weagle trials to start with, which were
chariot races.
Yes, they were, mate. It was hairy because they were unrestricted trials,
and it's not very wide anyway.
It's only about 6-7 horse bikes wide, and
if that.
And anybody could drive there. So there was old guys there.
No license,
no
helmets, no anything.
And, you know, blokes lining up at the barrier with the smoke hanging out their mouth, and away you went, you know, and it was just crazy. But they was good learning place, you know, good to cut your teeth there because they were wild trials. And then went out to Globe Derby in the run around, and then you had to do 20 trials, and you only allowed to do 1 a week. So next 20 weeks. So then I got the license.
So what was your first drive? You remember?
Yeah, my first drive was Iceland, Strathalbyn.
That was one of Chris's, wasn't it?
Yeah, a big horse, big monstrous horse, ran third.
And when was your first winner?
My first winner was at Wyala in the long weekend. I don't know how long after that, maybe a couple of months. And a little horse called Pace Attack. I nearly fell out the bike on the line. I was that
excited.
Yeah.
So that's the old days when they had 12 bookmakers and they'd take every money you wanted plus more.
We stayed the weekend up there at the Sundown Hotel, and it was great, you know. And we met
a
few of the locals.
They still haven't got over it.
A few other locals, and I was flying two up, and they were doing the thing. Wyala was, you know, was a great place.
They were the days when I lived in Pirie. We go to Wyala and you'd have 10 races, and they'd have 9 at Globe Derby the same night.
Yeah.
Saturday afternoons.
Some guys could make it back from Wyala to Globe Derby.
G. Sulky used to do it all the time.
120 miles an hour.
Yes, so the horse straight off the track into the float and
crazy.
Calling for Mr. Silk in the steward's room, and he's nearly at Port Augusta.
Yeah.
So I suppose most of the people that would know you. Well, we'll get back to the horses first. What were some of the best horses you drove, and some of the best that Chris had? Chris had some cup class horses and some really good fast class horses at those times. Some that went to the west, and
he did.
And some that, you know.
His first real good horse, I think, that I had. He had a nice horse before I got there called Jervois Centre. Won quite a few races, and I used to look through these photo albums and just see these horses, you know, from the years before, and listen to the guys telling me the stories. But he had an old horse called Narran River, who was about 12 years old. He'd won 30 races at Rocklea or Rockhampton, somewhere up north of Queensland. And Chris got him and used to look after him. You know, used to swim him down at Morpheville
in the pool.
Russell Cameron had a pool out the back, and he used to swim in there. And he won Gawler Cup with it, and he won with Narran River, and he won a couple of, you know, good fast class races. And he won his last start, and then he retired him when he was about 12 years old. So that was his first, you know, that I saw, you know, really good horse. And I drove him in a couple of trials to start with, and it was great.
He had Poshak. He was a good horse, and that other good horse that went to Perth. Got an edge.
Yeah.
One thing about Chris's horse, they always looked the picture on the track, didn't they? Whether not only the horse condition, but the gear and colours, everything was always immaculate.
Mate, you know,
still to this day.
He always used to say, you know, if you can't look like you're going to win, you know, if you can't win, look like you can win.
My dad used to say, you can't look like a footballer, at least. If you can't be a footballer, look like one.
Pull your socks
He was wrong on both counts, but anyway.
Anyway, so yeah, he took great pride in his presentation of his horse, and they always, you know, they did look like, you know.
So you was in the horses,
yeah,
and then most people would know you as probably, one of the best farriers in South Australia. How did you become? It's not something that everyone says, I think I might be a farrier, or I think I might be a...
Well, necessity,
whatever.
really, to earn money, because there's no money.
Yeah, but I mean, you could have been anything. I suppose you're in the industry. What did you used to do? Any tack on shoes at Chris's?
Yes, yeah, for sure. So, through necessity, if a horse comes out with a shoe off, you just have to, as everyone is in the game knows, most blokes can basically... So
when did you first start shoeing, and how did you get to the expertise that you got now?
Well, we used to work the horse in the morning and the afternoons. Was very good friends with the Marshall family, and they were all farriers. Peter Marshall, everyone knows Peter Marshall.
That's Peter Marshall Senior.
Peter Marshall Senior and Peter Marshall Junior.
Who's now the South Australian Harness Racing Club vice president or whatever.
Yeah, Peter. Everyone knows Peter. But his father was a well-respected old, really good old farrier. And
was he on the trots or the gallops? His father.
His father drove
as well.
Wavell and
so the Marshalls, the Peter Marshall, and his father have always been in the trots. But his father, the old fella, who's still alive, I think, he was known for the gallopers mainly.
As a galloping farrier,
yes.
But he was, he was an old time trainer and driver too, and so was Peter. But the whole Marshall family were farriers.
Oh, right.
Including their cousins, son-in-laws, everybody. Anyway, old Peter Senior, I started helping him in the afternoons, just clinching up. He'd put 3 or 4 nails in, I'd follow him around, put another couple of nails in, and just clinch up, and maybe do 5 or 6 horses in the afternoon. He was a really good old worker. And in those days, in the 80s, early 80s, mid 80s, you had to change the race plates for the day. So all thoroughbreds wore steel shoes, and then you change an aluminiums on race day. And the aluminium was very soft, and they were terrible plates. And so you can only leave them on for a couple of days, and you have to change them back. Because you weren't, the shoes have come a long way. They're much better now. So
this is the old days when you had to
plate every runner.
But the steel shoes, they made their own shoes.
Yeah,
now they're all come out of a factory.
Oh, they do.
Basically,
now they make them like they're machine made. They're beautiful. They almost go straight on. But Peter was very good. Old farrier, could solve a lot of problems. He was, John Hawkes' main man. He was Peter Jolly, Leon McDonald, John Hall, Alan Smith. All these really good old trainers. He was the number one man to go to for any problems. And plating. He might have had 10 or 12 runners on the day, and went to put all the shoes on in the morning, and the next day take them off and put them back on. So I'd help him do that. And
how many years before you were sort of confident enough to go and you started getting your own business, or was you doing the gallopers, or did you, because you was in the harness racing, that you started to do the trot?
I was learning off him. I was getting confident to handle the thoroughbreds, because some of them were nice mongrels, and
still are.
Yeah, and I was doing the odd trotter here and there for some of the older guys around Weagle, I shot for Les Kelsall, and used to do a few for Chris, and I did, it was pretty rough, but I was sort of trying my best. And as time went on, I got a bit better, and and I just needed, I needed money, because I had a partner and a stepdaughter at the time, and there wasn't much money in the trots, so I had to go shoeing. So that's what I did. So, and that just evolved. I did more and more, and as I got a bit better. I started going to Globe Derby and doing a few. I did Les Hardings for a lot of years, and just got. So
when did you move to, we'll say, elite? What was your break in the shoeing that got you to? Anyone that'd say, well, we know Quirk is top farrier. What was the break?
Well, if you want to fast forward through the 90s.
Yep.
And
so you were driving, doing shoes.
Yeah. I loved the horses, mate.
We're fast forwarding to the 90s. What happened then?
Horses were always the first priority. I put them before anything. And selfishly at times, with kids and family and that. But I was very
focused,
sort of driven and focused about the horses, and I loved them. But and tried to do as much shoeing as I could on the side to make
make it comfortable for everyone else.
So go through the 90s. We had some great years with some nice horses and that. And then in about 1998, I can still remember the year. Phil Houston, the late Phil Houston, he said, because he worked at Lindsay Park.
Lindsay Park, worked in the lab,
And he was also an avid trotting man, Phil, and great friends with Ray Goble, who was great friends with us at the time. It all sort of filtered through, And he said there's a chance to come up to Lindsay Park. They've had a dispute with the farriers up there, and they're getting, they want,
someone else.
Not just someone else, about was about 10 blokes going up there, you know, intermittently here and there, doing a couple of days here, a couple of days there. So I went up there, and I couldn't
Who was running the show then?
Who was running the show? Peter Hayes.
He's the one that passed, is he?
He was the trainer. David Hayes had gone to Hong Kong, and Tony McAvoy was his right hand. Peter Hayes, the right hand man, and Colin Hayes was still alive. He was still cruising around the place. You know, he was pretty old, but that was the wake up to me, and I had to really pull my socks up because of dealing with those horses.
You were going,
nowhere to hide there.
upper run.
And the staff and the vet, you know, staff up there. You had to be on the ball, which I was probably out of my depth, to be honest with you, you know. And I was okay, but
to get the opportunity, so you got a job there.
I got a job there.
How long were you there for?
What happened was they brought a guy down from Queensland to be the head farrier, a contract farrier, which means he's the boss. He liaisons with the vets and the bosses, and he employs then his subcontractors.
Yep.
And so there was 4 or 5 other farriers and subcontractors. He brought a couple of guys down with him from Queensland, who were all good, real good farriers. And when I saw the standard of their work, I just thought, you know, wow, I've got a lot to learn here. And to my good fortune, Greg Murray, the guy's name was, he took me under his wing and he mentored me, you know, and he got me, I shut my mouth and just opened my ears for about 18 months. And I watched and listened, and we did anatomy, you know, I had frozen legs up there, we could see, and we pointed out everything and problems that were evolving. We could solve them, and I started to just really get into the click, you know. I got about hoof balance and about anatomy and things like that, and problem solving and therapeutic shoes and all this sort of stuff, because he was brilliant, and I just tagged along behind him, and it lifted my skills to, you know.
So how long were you out there for?
I was there for 4.5 years, till about 2002, and he stayed there till about 2004, and then he went and became the head farrier for the Hong Kong Jockey Club. So he's, you know,
so you've been taught by Peter Marshall Senior, then you got to the next level with this guy.
This guy was Peter was great for me, and this guy was just next level.
So when you left Lindsay Park, what did you do then? Just freelance?
Well, I sort of lost my way a little bit there. So for a couple of years.
You were finished driving then?
Yes, mate. I finished. Well, when I went to Lindsay Park, the guy said to me, no mucking around going to trots.
Yeah, waste your breath.
You're here. Boom. And start at 7 o'clock every morning.
When's the last drive you had?
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I think it was for Reg Sabine, matter of fact.
Reggie, poor old Reggie's gone too.
Poor Reg, yeah, great player. Yeah.
So, you said you lost your way a bit.
I had a few years. I was making a few bad decisions. I wasn't living the best life, and then I met my current partner. Her name's Karen Chimboli, and she was like an angel from heaven sent to me, and she picked me by the scruff of the neck. And
so that's your partner now?
Yeah.
So how long
20
years?
Together? 20 years, mate.
There you go.
And it's the best thing that happened to me. You know, I got a son, 34, got a stepdaughter, 44, grandkids, and meeting her, it changed my life because I don't know. We haven't had a blue in. We've had 2 blues in 20 years. You know?
But that's good.
And she's won them both, and that's it. We just get on terrifically, and it's flowed. The relationship with her has flowed down through my family, through my kids and grandkids and whatnot, and it's been just nothing but beneficial. And you know, life's still
So
life.
you still do you do any gallopers at all?
I was working for. When I went to Lindsay Park, I'll just tell you this quickly. There was just a cast of people up there.
Thousands.
There was a guy called Kira Ma, who was an apprentice jumps jockey. Stephen Pateman was an apprentice jumps jockey. Glenn Kent, who's now top trainer in his own right, he was a horse breaker. Simon Wild, who's a top trainer. There was all these guys there that were young guys, and they all ended up going on and becoming very successful. Well, Kira Ma, what can you say about him, mate? He's and
Darren Magro was out there at one stage too, wasn't he?
Just before, in the 90s, Darren Weir was up there, Peter Moody was up there. All these guys who became,
that's where they went to.
Top Gun trainers. All did some sort of stint at Lindsay Park because it was such a great place, mate, and still is. Aaron Bone will probably tell you, he's training up there now.
So did you get any of those people that when you left that came with you, or did they just continue to use whoever they were using?
No. Well, then another guy took over as head farrier and had a few more, and I was commuting up there every day. From I was living in Andrews Farm, and it wasn't that far, but you get a bit sick of it,
So at the moment you just.
But I loved it.
At the moment you're still doing farrieing, right?
At the moment I still do farriers. Glenn Kent, I was going down to his place every once a week at Finnis Lodge,
Oh, yeah.
Wayne Francis of Glen
Yeah,
Kent.
yeah.
He's been.
So you do Ryan Horrocks, who's
Yes.
probably he's South Australia's best trainer driver.
Well, he's got a lot of horses.
Yeah.
I can't
How
do
many
as
would
many.
he have? How many he have?
Oh, between
40.
between 30 and 40 probably sometimes.
Okay.
But
So-
you know, I don't do as much as I used to do because I'm getting a bit old, and I done my back about 6 months ago. So I can still shoe a few, but I'm winding it down a bit, mate.
Right. Okay. So in winding it up, we'll just say quickly the best paces and trotters you've seen.
In the flesh, or
Just that you reckon you either on TV or ones that you've actually.
Hard to go past Popular Arm.
Popular
how
Arm,
exciting
okay.
it was. And, you know, we'll give an honourable mention to Gamalite, who used to stay at Chris's place.
What about as far as trainers and drivers in South Australia, since we've produced most of the good ones in Australia in harness racing, and certainly the best trainers as far as gallopers are concerned in Australia have all come through South Australia.
Yeah, well,
haven't they?
we were at John Hawkes in the 80s and 90s, and watching him operate was like a military operation, the way he used to run his stable.
He's into the harness racing now.
He loves trots.
He's got two or
He
three.
used to like trots back then.
He's got two or
He
three
had a
now.
little swim. He used to let us bring Poshak down to swim in his back pool, and he didn't let anyone else. He loved trots, mate. He was very good. And I used to take Wayne Hawkes to the Globe Derby when he was about 12 years old. He liked trots more than gallops at the time. But the best
Drivers?
best drivers, I think Jeffrey, that I used to drive.
Jeffrey Webster, yeah.
You know, I wouldn't tell him to his face, but
Well, I think he's going to know when he sees this.
he was that. No, he was just. He did it so easy. He was just a natural, freak. And Ross Sugars and Lance Justice in that order. You know, they were just guys I just looked up to. You know, a great deal of respect for them. And it was a hard school. You know.
Well, anyway, look, Dave, it's really lovely talking to you today. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there will say, "I'm glad you've come on," because we some of the people don't understand that without you, a lot of those horses that have raced and won would not have done it. So,
Well, yeah.
all the best and thanks
No
so
worries,
much.
mate.
Thanks,
Thank you.
David.
Thank you.